clearly says that African oral history and archaeological evidence suggests that civilization began in South America, when the latest humans from Africa arrived in South America about 40,000 years ago. They found a land that was not only habitable, but it was also rich in agricultural and resources. Okay, so you false out of Africa people, read halfway down in blue. It says there was little agricultural diversity in the African continent that they fled. They fled to South America. Yeah, the Africans, where they say life started, began, and evolved. All right, so hence this agricultural diversity must have been a very pleasant surprise. So as a result of them coming together, they stayed together as a group, us indigenous people over here and the Africans. And from there, we formed life. It says the seeds of human civilization were thus sown. You can see at the very bottom, they started cultivating crops, vegetables, and all sorts of other things on the settlement of South America so they can eat. Land in North Africa at the same time had amazing agricultural potential. However, they lacked the variety of crops. So they found those crops in South America. And this is a list of the different crops that were found over here in the Americas, not Africa, over here. And then they took all that stuff to Africa. Read it. It says the pepper, the kola nut, the corn, millet, yam, sweet potato, cocoa yam. South Africa, in West Africa, there's a lot of cocoa yams being eaten over there. Pumpkin, squash, gourd, black-eyed peas, peanuts, okra, pineapple, cocoa, yeah, like chocolate, plantain, banana, tobacco, palm nut soup, yeah, gourds, ginger, garlic, shit. You see the list, that came from over here in South America, not Africa, over here. And then they took this stuff over to Africa. Now look on the bottom in red. It says today, 7,000 years later, there's still a large overlap between indigenous South American agriculture and African agriculture because they took it from here and took it over there to modern day Africa, not the other way around. Some people in Africa are aware that the people who are called the red people came from over here. As you can see in the middle where the first arrow is, it says that the red people came from South America, Central America, North America, and the Caribbean islands. They're the red people. And it was before the arrival of the pale folks and their diseases that they brought with them. I want to show you something else to prove that we're the red people. But first, take a look at this second arrow. It says that this is the origin of human civilizations, okay? And the introduction of civilization to Africa, and also the rise of ancient Egypt, because together, all of these people built Egypt. Let's take a look at the description of the indigenous people here in America first. Now, you will see that there are various skin complexions for the indigenous people that they call the Aboriginal and also the American Indian. I rep copper color because that's my skin complexion, okay? But we came in various shades. We were dark skinned, we were light skinned. And if you look on the bottom underneath where it says savages, it says swarthy and dirty dark red. Okay. And so again, some of the Africans that, they refer to us as the red people. In between the two arrows, you see it says these red people built very advanced civilizations in their lands, underlined in blue. So who are these red people that built advanced civilizations? Let's take a look at some of the people that were in South America. We have the Uru tribe, and they spoke Amharic, which is Amharic. That was the dominant language that was spoken in South America. And those are the Ethiopian people. So Ethiopians are from over here in South America. Who else was from South America? This is going to blow your mind. Now, Who else lived over here? Take a look above my head where it says that there were strong cultural ties that existed between the Urus and the Moshes. Who are the Moshes, y'all? The Hebrews. Moshe, Moses. Now read in blue. It says 5 centuries after the Uru kingdom and the Middle East was founded. Now the Middle East is actually the Caribbean. Okay, it's saying food shortages began to plague the land. The food shortages were the result of climate changes and overpopulation. It says fruit production declined and agricultural land became scarce. And so the citizens of the Uru kingdom, which are the Hebrews and the Ethiopians who shared close cultural ties, they migrated to Egypt to buy food. What does that sound like? Something that's written in the Bible? Huh? They took a journey to Egypt to get food because of the famines? Yeah. If you read on, they called their god Nana, and so they were saying that they felt as though that this is a result of them sinning from Nana, sinning against Nana, their god, the famines and the droughts and everything that they experienced. Look at what's written in blue. This is how the 10 Commandments came about. So in clay tablets, the priest inscribed a new code of ethics, and they forced all the adults to memorize it and abide by the code. That's the 10 Commandments, y'all. Keep in mind, all of that is over here in the Americas, not over there in modern day Africa. All right, so the groups of families, as you can see above my head, they began to travel together. They left the kingdom of Uru and they started to migrate in the wilderness, which the wilderness story that they wandered for 40 years comes from. All right, in search of a land without sin. Now, so one such group forerunner of a tribe that later became known as the Hebrews, the forerunner of the Hebrews was led by a family of one of the Uru priests, which are the Ethiopians. And he also took the responsibility of a family overseer for his family and the families of his uncles. And guess what his name was? His name was Abram. Okay, Abram, right, exactly. Now, so this included members of his extended family, and it ended up becoming a lot bigger, and they were mostly Uru people. So the Hebrews, I mean, literally came from the Ethiopian people. They wandered through the grasses for several moons, as it says right here in red, and they settled on a land today called Canaan. Hello, which is in North America, which is considered to be the United States right now, the California, Nevada area, Utah as well. Keep reading in the blue. Abram told his clan that Nana, which they considered to be God, has promised to turn that land and into a land without sin for several centuries. The descendants of Abram's clan held strongly to the hope that their land will someday turn into a land without sin. The Hebrews held on to the belief that the God of Abraham would someday turn their land into a land without sin, and it was a belief in a promised land that the Hebrews would commit to staying on the land despite the difficulties. Several of you were asking me, why do I wear my hair in locks if I'm not going to claim to be African? Because that is actually where locks started. You a lie. You a whole entire lie. Okay? I'm about to show you where wearing locks actually started. It was right here in the Americas. It was the Hebrews, my people, who actually were the ones who wore locks, and it was incorporated into their religious beliefs. It was the priests like Aaron, Moshe, all of them, Moses. They wore locks as well as their sons. And by the time their sons never cut their hair. They just left it the way it was, and by the time they were grown, their hair was tangled into locks. Okay? And it says again, only the priests and their sons wore locks in their hair. And it was then copied by the Egyptians. Now, understand, there were actually Hebrew Egyptians, as it states here. In the middle, part way down where it says Egyptian priests imitated, look a little bit above it, you'll see Egyptian Hebrews. So yes, over here We are Egyptian and we're also Hebrews. Not over there in modern day Africa. Those are Arabs that live in modern day Africa or Egypt. The priests and the sons were easily identified by their hairstyle of the locks, and people acted right when they came around. Just like how, y'all be driving down the street and everything, you speeding, and then you see a police car and your ass slow down. Yeah, you know what time it is, right? Yep. So that's the same power that the Hebrew priests and their sons had on their people. Now look at the very bottom of this page, and it says, today in modern day Africa, now the priests in some of the African tribes and villages wear their hair in locks because of my people over here in the Americas. They copied everything in modern day Africa that we did over here in America. Alcohol. Look at the very top of this page. In ancient South America, alcohol is one of the most ingenious inventions of all time. So it was started over here. And by the time South Americans went to Africa, they had already invented and used alcohol for several centuries. And a century is 100 years. So hundreds of years before they migrated to modern day Africa, they were already drinking alcohol and everything, making alcohol and spirits. Okay. And so they had to actually teach the African women how to prepare. They called it chicha. All right. And teach them in schools that were established to teach the Africans how to actually make this chicha. And they said that this was the first alcohol that was introduced to the rest of the world. So it was us Hebrews over here in America who invented alcohol. Alcohol was even used in their religious practices. Some of the South American indigenous tribes called it not only chicha, but pitu. And another thing they called it, y'all? They called it damn. If you look over here on this side of my head. Now, come on now. Y'all, that's something that we be saying. Damn. That's what they called alcohol. Damn. Those who were building the pyramids, they used alcohol to relax them. Something that we also do today. If you look at the part that I last underlined in blue, it says alcohol was made from grain, particularly millet, sorghum, or maize. And it was also made from cassava and plantain and other fruits. And look, in the last video, if you haven't watched it, watch it. I was talking about how all that stuff came from over here, the cocoa yams, the plantain, the cassava, and all that stuff. And from here in America, they actually took all that stuff over there to Africa, including cocoa. Here's another one. The advanced knowledge of the stars existed in South America long before the contact with Africa was made. It was from over here, y'all, not modern day Africa. Mummification is another thing from right here in America. Take a look at this page. It was the South Americans who introduced the concept of burying the dead in underground caves to the Africans. That's underlined in red. All right. It's from over here. Right. But they claim that Egypt is over there in modern day Africa. Those people don't even have the DNA, the technology, the pyramids, the mummification, all that stuff started over here in America, which proves that history is nothing but a lie, which proves that out of Africa BS is a lie. Nobody came from over there in modern day Africa. They came from over here in America, and they were shipped over there to modern day Africa. That's why people over there look like us over here in America. We are the original people. If there are people from modern day Africa that know anything about shrines, it came from over here in America. Yes, shrines, which a lot of y'all do over there in modern day Africa, especially West Africa. Okay. Another important element of South America Indian religion culture was the concept of a shrine. A shrine is a place deity, and this place deity most often was under a large shady tree or a group of small trees. The place or deity is a spot by a riverbank, on a spot in a swamp or a cave or under a rock. Those of you in West Africa know exactly what this is talking about. And They had religious services and everything. And basically, they would appease the spirits. They would talk to the spirits. They would offer sacrifices to the spirits. They asked the spirits for certain things. And, you know, there's usually a river that flows out of it. Sometimes you can collect the water that flows from it. That's from the gods. And it's said to give you good luck and to fortune and success. All right, soothsayers and other spiritual people came from over here in the Americas. These people actually knew the art of ventriloquism. They would actually make oracles speak, command the oracle to talk. And it was right here in South America, in the Americas, where all that stuff happened, where it all started. And the pale folks were actually intrigued by this ventriloquism. And so, you know, even today, all of these ventriloquist acts that you see today with they have puppets, they have their hand in a puppet or whatever, and they're talking, but they're making the puppet speak or whatever. And so that's just actually like mimicry of what, you know, my people have always done, which is the art of ventriloquism. And at that time, the Moshe Kingdom became the dominant empire in South America, who actually routinely used the oracles in their religious practices and beliefs. Boat building and sailing. Yep, it was the South American Indians, my people, who actually introduced this to Africans. It was the art of boat building and sailing. The boats were mostly dugout canoes, bark canoes, and all sorts of other balsa rafts. Cotton. It is indigenous over here in the Americas and nowhere else. This is the only place where it actually existed. It was originally called a weed. It was used to make clothes, to weave clothes, even weaving grass. They did that. Hey, the invention of clothes was over here in America. These names, I'm sure they look awfully familiar to a lot of you in West Africa or Africa period as a whole, but these names actually originated in the Americas, and it was Africans who took it over there. Many of you believe that the Bible is BS, you know, it's been tampered with and all that, X, Y, Z, and the third. Okay, your belief is your belief and everything. However, the 6th and 7th book of Moses is something that was actually taken out of the entire Bible. And why was it taken out of the Bible? It's because it gives the Israelites, the indigenous people, the Hebrews, power. And they do not want you to have power. So they took it away from you and they gave you Christianity, something that has no power in it at all, which is their religion and their God that you're worshiping. So look, hey, screenshot this. Read it, do what you want, but this is to also separate you from the divine one who created us. So, you know, get rid of those the colonizer religions, Islam, Christianity, and everything, and return to the omnipotent one in order to receive your strength and power. We need it to fight these enemies of ours. Everything started in America, not Africa.